Okay, here we are. Movement is done. Let's do a demo, shall we? Okay, I believe I was talking about masking stencils. People had questions. What's a masking stencil? What's the difference between a mask and a stencil? So instead of trying to describe it to you, I thought I would show you. These stencils, this is one set from Tailored Expressions. So in the pack, you get the stencil and you get the mask. So that fits in there perfectly. And then you also get this stencil and then you get that mask. So you get all 4 pieces in the set. Okay, here we are. I am working on my rotating design board. I have my, let's move it down here. I have my magnetic design sheet on it. So if you're wondering why this is moving, that's why. So this is what I created using this circle mask. Now there's other masks. There are square masks, ovals, balloons. This is just one thing that I did, but I'm gonna show you a different technique. But what I wanted to show you is I took this piece of paper, I laid this mask down, or I laid my paper down, laid the mask over top, and then I inked it with 2 Catherine Pooler inks. And that's how I got that. Inked it with a brush. There. Actually, no, I didn't ink it. I inked it with blending, these blending tools here. And then what I did, to add the background, I removed this. And then I took this, did not spray it with pixie spray. However, you could spray this with pixie spray to make it slightly tacky and lay it over top of the area that you want to protect. And then I inked around the outside with Drive It, all the way around the outside. Inked all the way around the outside, and that's how I got that, okay? So that's just one way you can use a mask and stencil. Now, let me show you something else. Let's do this one. Yeah. Putting my paper down, this is, trying to remember what paper I used. This isn't the Vicky Bouton. This is the 100-pound super smooth cardstock that we have. Okay, I'm gonna lay this down. Excuse me as I choke. Just wait, I need coffee. Okay, perfect. Let me line up some inks here. Let's just, let's just go crazy. Gonna grab some of these, gonna grab some of these. I am not using blender brushes. I'm actually using blender foams and the blending tools. This is a cool way of doing a background. I'm just gonna pick up some ink and I'm gonna come in and I'm going to ink that. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just gonna keep going until I get good coverage. Around and around we go. Okay, I like that. That's nice. Before I move it, I'm going to take this and I'm going to wipe away some of that ink. Because now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to shift it over. I'm going to grab something else here. Let's grab some yellow. And we're going to blend. You know me in circles. I love my circles. Blend, blend, blend. Before I move it, again, just gonna wipe up some of that excess ink and we're good. And so I'm gonna go across this entire card, and before I get too crazy, let's go back to this one. Let's add a big circle as well, because we can combine them. Nobody says I can't. I'm gonna do it. Nobody can stop me. I do what I want. I'm a rebel. Okay, here we go. This color is In the Park. This is one of the new ones. Now, I hear from people when they try and do the blends that they're never happy with it. They always have these hard edges or it doesn't look very good. And I'll say, well, how many times did you go over it? Well, just once. No, you have to go over it multiple times until you are happy with your blend. So I'm adding more ink, I'm going over, I'm making it darker until I get a nice solid area, okay? That's how you do it. Let's move this around. I'm gonna add another part here. Let's see, what color should I, oops, I forgot to wipe that off. Let me do that. There we go. Let's put it up here and let's add a blue. This one would make a really nice birthday card, I think. It would make a really beautiful birthday card. So yes, when you're blending, go over it multiple times. Because some people will do it once and they're like, oh, I don't like it. Look, you can see those lines in there. Just keep blending. Just keep going back, getting your ink, go back in, keep blending, keep making it darker, go around the edge. And I will warn you, I am a very heavy-handed blender. Like I am putting a lot of pressure on here. If you're a light-handed blender, it's just gonna mean it's gonna take you longer time. I am a heavy-handed blender. That's just the style I've done over the last several years of doing this. See, now look how cool that is. That's very cool. And that's what you can do with a stencil like this, okay? Now say I wanted to, here we are. Now I wanna mask this off. Okay, maybe that's where my sentiment's gonna go. Maybe I just wanna keep that area clean. Let's do, here we go. I'm gonna add some sparkle to this now, but I'm gonna keep this one clean. Now, what this is a mini mister from Ranger, just a little tiny mini mister. What I did is I added 3 drops of liquid sparkle. 3 drops of liquid sparkle from Lawn Fawn. We have this in stock. Dropped 3 drops in here and filled the rest up with water. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go over the entire card and I'm just gonna add some sparkle. Now, let me just pick that up, drop that one off. Don't know if you'll be able to see it. So everything is sparkly except where I masked it off. It's still a little bit wet, so the sparkle may not be showing up there too good, but let me give it a quick dry. So if you want a really easy sparkle spray, I love the liquid sparkle. Like I have used this probably for about a year in my mini mister. And so every time this gets down to about half, I put in 1 more drop of liquid sparkle and fill it up with water and just keep going. So this will probably last me about 12 lifetimes. So you can, I don't know if it's picking it up, that sparkle. Oh yeah, I can see it on the Facebook feed and on Instagram. So really easy way to add the sparkle to your background. So that's blending with Catherine Pooler inks. Now, let me do one more. I will show you, I always tell people I love the Distress Oxides because of the blend. Love it. Love, love, love. Let me show you, oh, look how much ink is in those. Those are inky. Where did, oh, here we are. I didn't mean to drop that. I'm gonna clean it up. I always have people tell me, well, how do you blend dye inks that don't have the pigment in them that makes them so blendable? How do you blend dye inks? Well, let me show you. First of all, the easiest way to do it is to make sure that your ink pads are very juicy. I need to dry this. Make sure your ink pads are nice and juicy. If they're a bit on the dry side, you might need to re-ink them, or you may need to use Distress Refresher. And let me just tell you about Distress Refresher. Here we are. Distress Refresher. Maybe you haven't used your ink pads in a while. Maybe they seem a little bit dry, but you know they have ink in them. If you spray them with Distress Refresher, it will add enough moisture to revive those inks. Yes, it's true. And you can use this for any water-based product. It doesn't have to be Distress. I could use these with my Catherine Pooler because these are water-based. You can use this with acrylic paint because it's water-based. So yes, if you need to revive a product that is starting to either dry up or it's just not working for you, if it's water-based, you can use these for water-based markers, paints, inks. So it's always good to have a little bit of this around before you invest in a re-inker. You can buy this, spray it on your pad, leave it, put the lid on tight, leave your ink pad overnight and come back and see if that does it. And 9 times out of 10 it will. If it doesn't, that means the ink, it just needs to be re-inked and you have to buy a re-inker. But Distress Refresher is always something really good to have in your stash. Okay, how do you blend dye inks? I get asked that a lot. I love blending with the oxides. Not gonna lie, love it. But you can blend with dye inks. Here we go. Let's do these two. I don't know why, I just feel like doing, this is a chiffon. This is one of the new colors, an aquatini, which is, I believe, one of the older colors. Let me grab my, here we are. And this one for chiffon. And let me grab one for, here we go. How do I blend with a dye ink? Okay, this is very important. I start with one color. And you don't have to use a mask. I could just be doing this direct on the paper. So I'm gonna add one color on one side. And I'm gonna take my other color and I'm gonna put it down here, not touching them. Gonna go back to this one, add a little bit more, get a little bit closer to that line. Go back to this one. You see I'm adding more ink. I just keep going and slowly bringing those colors together. This is how you prevent getting that really harsh line that you can get between two colors. It's just all about working the ink. Okay, so you can see I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And it's not about getting that perfect blend the first time. You do have to go back. You do have to work these inks a bit to get them to blend like that. Okay, so there you go. That is how you blend dye inks. Back and forth. And like I said, it does take a bit of work. It does take a bit of practice, but don't get frustrated with it. I have a lot of people who give up on ink blending because they don't get that perfect blend. I never got a perfect blend the first probably 100 times I did this. It just took a lot of work going back and forth and practice and practice and practice. Okay, let me clean this off. Now what I'm gonna do, hang on tight. So there's our Catherine Pooler. This is our Catherine Pooler blend. Let me do, where did I put them? Oh, here behind me. Okay, let's do a Distress ink blend this time. Just strict Distress ink. So let me clean up some inks here so my crafter math isn't quite as insane as it normally is. Okay, moving Catherine Pooler aside. So now we've got Rustic Wilderness, which is the new color, and what's this one? Peacock Feathers. Now you may be saying, oh, I didn't think you sold Distress inks. We don't sell the entire line, but we can reorder in the ink pads and the re-inkers. It's just a space issue for us, but we can bring these in. So if you prefer distress inks and you need a re-inker for an older pad, or you would like a color in a previous release, just let us know and we can bring them in for you. So yeah, the only reason we don't carry the full line of the distress inks, it's strictly for space. Okay, let's do this. Let's stick with the same paper. This, what I'm using here, this is the foundations paper from Vicki Boutin. Okay, placing that on there. So let's do Rustic Wilderness. This is a dye ink, same as Catherine Pooler. Catherine Pooler inks are a dye ink, okay? So these are the same type of inks, dye inks. Okay, so let's do that. Let's grab another blending tool and another foam. Now, if you're wondering why my foams look like this, because at the demo bar, I've got hundreds of these, hundreds. And at the end of the week, I put them in a colander and I wash them and I reuse them until they basically don't work anymore. So don't be afraid to reuse your blending foams. I put them in a colander, I put a little bit of dish soap, I get them all nice and soapy, and then rinse them really well because you don't want to leave any soap in there. And then I dump them out on a tray that has paper towel in it, and I leave them to dry overnight. So here we go. Okay, so peacock feathers is going on the bottom. I'm gonna blend, 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 blend. Here we go. Going back to Rustic Wilderness. That's not that one. This is Rustic Wilderness. Do another blend. Back to peacock feathers again, getting closer and blending. And blend, blend, blend. And there you go. So there is a distress ink blend. 2 colors blended together. Don't get frustrated. I keep telling people, don't get frustrated. Always go over your inks probably 4 or 5 times until you get that perfect blend that you like, okay? One more blend we're gonna do. This time we're gonna do it with the oxide so I can show you the difference. Let me put those aside. Okay, let me choose. Let's see, what do I have here? Okay, let's stick with our greens and blues. Let's just keep them consistent, shall we? Here we go. Let me clean this off one more time. And then I've got another demo to show you using these ink blends. Okay, there we go. Need to wipe this off. It's a little bit damp. Sorry, I can't see your comments because of the way the angle is. So I'll come back after we're done. I'll look through the comments and answer any of your questions. Okay, again, Vicki Boutin Foundations paper. These are all the same papers, all the same. There we go. And this time I'm going to use oxides. I'm going to use peeled paint. I'm going to need some new foams. Some new foams. Here we go. No, let's go over here. And a couple of blending tools. Grab those out. Let's do that. This. Perfect. Okay, let's start with peeled paint. Remember, this is a distress oxide. This is a dye pigment blend. That means with the pigment, you can emboss with these as well because the pigment ink mixed with the dye ink still makes the ink sticky enough, long enough that you can emboss with it. The dye inks dry too fast, so that's why you can't do that. Okay, this is peeled paint. Now I'm gonna go to Faded Jeans. Here we are, blending, blending, blending. More peeled paint. Now with the Distress Oxides, I always find blending more, you get this nice blend with the two of them. So I'm gonna come down a little bit further with the green, and I'm gonna come back with the blue, and I'm gonna go up a little bit further with the blue. There we go, I like that. And that is a Distress Oxide blend. So Distress Oxide, Distress Ink, little bit different. You can see difference in the inks. It might not show up on camera, but it definitely shows up in person. And then this is Catherine Pooler. So yeah, not exactly the same colors, but oops, I should turn that one this way. I don't know if you can tell, but the blend here is just so much smoother than the blending with the dye inks. That's why I love these. Love, 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 love. Okay, now let me show you one more thing. With a product that is an oldie but a goodie, I probably don't demo with it enough, but let me show you this one, and I love using it. Okay, time to clean up my mess. Let's move things over. Hi, Michelle. Good, how are you? Oh, that could be dangerous. Oh, yeah. There you go. Okay, actually, let me turn this so it's the right way again. Here we go, here we go. Okay, so we've got Distress Ink, Distress Oxide, Catherine Pooler, just so you know the difference. Okay, Distress Microglaze. Who's familiar with Distress Microglaze? Anyone? This is an older one. It actually came out prior to when the oxides were produced and started coming out. So that's how old this is. Yes. People look at it and they're like, what can you do with Distress Microglaze? I don't understand. What is the big deal? Okay, how I like to apply Distress Microglaze is you put it on your foam. You can use your finger as well, but I like using a foam. And I will do this and just work it into that pad and make sure it's all even on there. And then what you can do, just wait. I'm just trying to decide if I want to stamp on this first. No, I'm not going to stamp on it first. Okay, so what you can do is you can then put this over top of your Distress Ink, because Distress Ink is always water soluble, right? You add water to it, it's going to react. But if you cover it with Distress Microglaze, you are now putting a protective cover over it. Okay. Now it's going to be hard to see, but I put a thin coat of Distress Microglaze over top of that. So now that is going to cause a resist technique. So let me put this aside. I don't have any sprays, but what I'm going to do, if I had a spray, I would just spray it really quick. But what we're going to do, just to demo this, I'm just going to take some Distress Oxide. This is Wild Honey. Distress Oxide, Wild Honey, just to show you. Give that a spray. And then I'm gonna lay this down. There you go. Lay that down. Look at that. So you can see how that beaded up on there? That is now resisting this. So if I go in and give this a dry, Now I could have gone in with my finger and put the distress microglaze just on that circle. It looks like I went a little bit beyond it, but you know, that's the fun thing about doing this, is you get these wonderful there we go. I'm just going to pick up some of that ink. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to take a piece of cloth, microfiber cloth, paper towel, clean spot, and now I'm going to go in and wipe that back. So it has resisted most of that ink, but some of it's still left on there. But it does do a really nice resist technique. Now, another sample I did of that, here we go. This is 100-pound smooth paper. I put the distress microglaze through a stencil on the plain paper and then dipped it into my ink. And you can see where it caused the resist. That's another way of using it, through a stencil to cause resist. When it was done and dry, I took a cloth and I wiped away any of the residue from the distress microglaze. So resist techniques for the distress microglaze. Now, I'm going to show you again another technique with the distress microglaze. So on here, this is a glossy piece of paper. I am getting some wicked shadows. Let me just move this down. Try and get rid of some of those larger shadows. Okay, still with the shadows. Okay, this is a glossy sheet of paper. I don't know where it came from. I think it was a backing from a pad of paper that we got. So this is glossy, okay? On this side is, I had 3 different colors of Distress Oxide, dipped it in and dried it. Now up here, you can still see the oxidization, so it's very matte. I took the Distress Microglaze, which I don't know what I did with my, I'll have to get another one. And I took my Distress Microglaze and rubbed it on the bottom, and that removed the oxidization and made it shiny again. So I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to demo it live so you can see the difference. But that is another way of using the Distress Microglaze. Let's put some colors down. Let's do these, shall we? Fossilized amber. I'm gonna smoosh those on there. I'm going to do ripe persimmon. I'm going to spray. And now I'm gonna dip. So remember, this paper has a slight gloss to it. I have done this technique on, I tried it on Yupo, but I ended up, when I was trying to dry it, the Yupo kind of buckled. So photo paper, anything with a gloss finish will work. So let me just give this a dry. Give me a second, I need to build up the layers, and then I'm gonna add a purple over top of this. This orange, ripe persimmon and wild honey are the 2 I'm using right now. Oxides are always best when you build up the layers. That's what makes them amazing. Drying. dip some more. Okay, now once this is dry, I'm actually gonna add purple. So just give this a second to dry. All right, let me just wipe this up because I don't want to add my purple on there or I'll make mud. So wiping that away. Next, I'm going to add some seedless preserves. Not as much, I'm not putting full coverage. I just want to add a little bit of purple. So let me give that a spray. Adding that purple on there. Give me a second. I'm gonna give that a dry. This technique does take a little bit longer, but it's worth it. Just gonna tip it. Get some drippies in there. I just realized I've done all my blending today with these and not of my brushes. Very unusual for me. Ugh, love the oxides. I just love how you can build up these layers with them. There we go. Okay, we're getting there. Hang in there. I'm just gonna take a drink of coffee. Okay, there we go. Let's wipe this up. Some little dry or wet spots, I'm just gonna pat those dry. Okay, so with the Distress Oxides, you are gonna get that matte finish. That is just what the oxides are supposed to do. Oxidization, you get that matte finish. Okay, so it's very matte, there's no shine. You can see where the glossy paper is and you can see where the ink is, no shine. What I'm gonna do, hopefully I can concentrate it enough that you can see the difference. The crafter math is definitely happening. Let me just say. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna take my blending tool, put it in, and you can see how perfectly that fits in there. I could use my finger, but I'm gonna use this. Pick up some of that micro glaze. I'm gonna go on here and I'm gonna put it on my mat because I don't want any big blobs on there. I do wanna smoosh it around. Make sure it's even. Okay, now I'm gonna come over here and I'm going to take this and I'm only gonna put it in that one spot. Perfect. Now I'm gonna take a cloth. Gonna take a nice clean piece of paper towel. A microfiber cloth would work as well. And now I'm going to wipe away the microglaze. Just gonna buff it away. So what it does, and I don't know if it's showing up on camera, it looks amazing. So here it's very matte. And then where I put the microglaze, it takes off that oxidization film and leaves you just with the ink. And I don't know if it's showing on camera, but when I tip it, I can see how bright and glossy this is, and everything around it is very matte. So that is just one of the cool techniques, because I hear a lot of people say, I just don't like that chalky or that matte look. Well, this is one way of taking off that matte look. Is the Distress Micro Glaze, and then you wipe it back and it's left it. And it's also now made this part permanent. You can put water on here. Everything else around here will probably reactivate, but on top of here, you're good to go. This will not move because you've covered it with Distress Micro Glaze. So there you go. One of the cool things about Distress Micro Glaze. Okay, now one more thing before we go. Promise, this is it. Although I do really love hanging out with you people, let me tell you. What I'm gonna do, let me take this off. I don't need that. Let's put that on there. I'm gonna do one blend for you using my, oh, here we are. These are the three I wanna use. Using my blending brushes. Because people were asking about the blending brushes. Why do you like the blending brushes? Okay, there we are. So I've got my three colors. Actually, let's do like that. I love my blending brushes. I'm going to use one Studio Ketchup. I'm going to use one life-changing blender brushes from Picket Fence, and I'm going to use a Pink and Main ergonomic brush. So I'm going to use three different ones. Oh, Nancy's here, so Dakota's barking. Okay, here we go. Let's do a blend. This one, we're using three. The other ones I did was just two. This one is a three blend, and I'll show you how I do that. I'm going to pick up some ink. So on one end, I'm going to do my peeled paint. Okay, next I'm gonna go in here with my Ice Spruce. This is with my my Pink and Main. Gonna add that one at the top. There we go. Now I'm gonna add my third color in the middle. Now I have a feeling my faded jeans have faded. I need to re-ink this one. It is dry. There we go. Just enough ink. Okay, faded jeans in the middle. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go back to my first color, peeled paint. Work it again, get closer to that one in the middle. Awesome. Go back to Ice Spruce. And now faded jeans, which I will be re-inking as soon as I'm done this demo because it needs help. Back to the original color. There we go. Ice Spruce again. I put things down and then I don't know where they go. They disappear. They just disappear. Let's do faded jeans. There we are. Ice spruce one more time. Blending it into that faded jeans. You can see it does take a while to get a nice blend. You have to go over it 4 or 5 times until you are satisfied with that blend. One more down the middle with the faded jeans. And there you go. A blend, 3 colors. Awesome. Well, there you go. That is my demo on inks today. Awesome. So sorry I couldn't see all your questions. If you had questions, sorry about that. But what I will do is I'll go back and I'll look through all your questions or comments. And if you had a question, I will answer it for you. I'm gonna give it a spray of water. There you go. There you go. Okay, perfect. Don't forget that our giveaway this week is the Catherine Pooler Ink Pad Mardi Gras. One of you will be winning this tomorrow when we announce the winner. So all you have to do is comment, tag a friend, share the video, and we will be picking one of you to win this tomorrow. We'll make that announcement tomorrow morning before noon. So there you go. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Don't forget, Tim Holtz pre-sale on now. Paper Artsy release week starts Monday. There's going to be lots of great things happening next week. So stay tuned to our social media, and we will be back with lots of fun things next week. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.